Chadbourne Parke LLP is a New York City-based international law firm founded in 1902 by Thomas Chadbourne. Today, there are approximately 425 attorneys in 12 offices around the world. Chadbourne maintains offices in the United States, including Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and Houston. On the international front, we are located in London, Warsaw, Beijing, Tashkent, Kiev, Almaty, Moscow, and St. Petersburg. Over the last 105 years, Chadbourne has developed a strong reputation by working on complex cases and transactions for its U.S. and international clients. Gary Morrisroe is a partner at Chadbourne and head of the product liability practice.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about both the history of BAT and Chadbourne, along with providing you some additional information about Chadbourne Parke. It's no coincidence that both Chadbourne and BAT celebrated their centennials in the year 2002. In fact, the BAT centennial publication notes that if there had been no James Buchanan Duke, there would have been no BAT. Equally, James Buchanan Duke and his American Tobacco Company were one of Chadbourne Parke's earliest clients. Unfortunately, the trust busters and antitrust laws came along, and James Buchanan Duke and American were separated from British American Tobacco. But Chadbourne continued to represent the American Tobacco Company, so from the early 1900s until the mid-1990s, Chadbourne had the opportunity to work intimately with a major tobacco company in all aspects of legal representation. This included both litigation defense and a range of corporate advice, compliance advice, advice on mergers and acquisitions, advice on complex reorganizations, as well as tax advice and employment advice. Fortunately, in 1994, the circle was made whole. Brown & Williamson, the former U.S. affiliate of BAT, acquired the American Tobacco Company, and American and Chadbourne were back in the BAT group. In the year 2000, we prepared Mr. Broughton, the former chief executive, to testify in front of Parliament, and also, more recently, the current chief executive of BAT, Paul Adams, was represented by Chadbourne in the U.S. Department of Justice litigation. Since 1994, Chadbourne's been providing BAT with expert litigation advice and representation, both in the U.S. as trial lawyers, but also internationally in litigation brought against BAT Group companies around the world. Additionally, we are involved in advising the company on regulatory issues and have had the opportunity to provide advice on IP issues. Through the history of Chadbourne Parke and the representation of BAT, Chadbourne has developed unique knowledge of the tobacco business in areas such as research and development, marketing, and CORA. Chadbourne has top-flight practitioners across a range of legal services, and I'd like to give you the opportunity now to hear from some of my other partners in the areas of corporate tax and intellectual property.
Partner Alan Miller is head of the corporate practice, and William Kavanaugh is a partner in the tax practice.
We focus on innovative and complex transactions, and many of them involve complex tax structuring.
And every transaction that we talk about in each of those 91 countries, the tax lawyers work hand in hand with our transactional lawyers and our corporate lawyers in looking for planning opportunities and solving difficult problems and difficult issues in the country. We bring real value to our client in doing so.
We handled the first initial public offering and New York Stock Exchange listing for a Russian company.
Actually, it's the first Russian offering since the Russian Revolution, and since it followed the Cold War, it kind of broke the ice.
We handled the first U.S. public offering by a company to raise capital to fund energy development in China.
They raised $150 million, which they thought was sufficient at the time. But as anybody who's done business in China knows, it wasn't anywhere near enough.
We handled the first tender offer for a Venezuelan company that is SEC registered.
And we spent much of our time in that transaction negotiating between the U.S. government and the Venezuelan government.
We handled the first U.S.-Japanese joint venture of a satellite company.
And as people know from doing business with the Japanese, much of the negotiations was handled on the golf course, the 15th through the 18th holes.
Actually, the 19th was where the real business got done, right?
That's where it got resolved.
I've learned that from a corporate point of view, we don't do any of this without our tax colleagues close by, because I could be doing a stock purchase agreement from a corporate point of view, And Bill or one of his colleagues is going to tell me it's actually, for tax purposes, an asset deal.
We like to keep our colleagues on their toes. Each of these transactions that we talked about and all the others in the 91 countries that we mentioned we've done deals in presents unique, challenging, interesting, thought-provoking tax issues. We are a client-focused firm. We understand our clients, their problems, their issues, their businesses, their opportunities, and their challenges.
Makes it seem like family.
Walter Hanchuk is a partner in the intellectual property practice.
We like to think of our intellectual property group as what we call a full-service intellectual property boutique within a general practice firm, having the scope and capabilities with all of the offices that we have globally. We cover the gamut from intellectual property litigation to copyright and trademark litigation, licensing both domestically and internationally, as well as even patent procurement and trademark procurement. We recently wrote some articles, for example, with some financial service groups that we work with. We talk about that if you forget to scrub the IP, forget doing the deal, because so many of these deals now are IP related. I mean, we do work very closely with the corporate practice and litigation practices in that context. A lot of the work, frankly, has been in the consumer product area. So much of that, I think, even for things that we've done for other clients, is quite relevant to, I think, BAT's needs potentially. So we really are on top of all sorts of new technologies, all sorts of new laws, working in areas where there are no laws, and all of that, I think, brings a very interesting platform of services that we can provide to BAT.
This is a flavor of some of our partners in practice areas. Here are a few others we would like to briefly introduce you to. Abby David Lowell is one of the leading white-collar defense attorneys in the United States and heads the Special Investigations and Litigation practice. Laura Brank is managing partner of the Moscow office and head of the Russia and CIS practice. George Bundy Smith, formerly an associate judge on New York's highest court, the Court of Appeals, is a partner in the litigation practice. Additionally, our London office is the hub of our European network. Gary Morrisroe, head of the product liability practice.
We are proud and appreciative of our history of work with BAT. Thank you for the opportunity to represent you over the years, and thank you again for the opportunity to talk to you today about some of these issues. We've had lots of successes together over the years, and we look forward to our two great organizations moving forward into the future.
For more information about Chadbourne Parke LLP, please contact Gary Morrisroe at 212-408-5393 or via email at gmorrisroe@chadbourne.com. To learn more, please visit us at chadbourne.com.